Welcome everybody to F9 Collective's Toggle. We are a community of motion designers based in India, but we have members actually all over the world. So, like, I wouldn't say we are, strictly India based. So every month we hold Google Meet that we call Toggle, where we invite industry professionals to talk about their art, or we have discussions where where we have discussions about things that's happening in the industry. And just a quick note, this meeting will be recorded, so if you have anything to share that should not be in the in the final video that we are going to post on YouTube, like something might be on it might be on NDA or anything, please let us know. If you accidentally shared it, we'll edit it out, totally up to you. So with that, I'd like to introduce Sharanya Ramesh. She's a stop motion artist based in Bangalore, I believe. Mumbai. Sorry. Stop motion artist based in Mumbai, and she was one of the speakers at AGI last year, AGIF last year, and it's been a very pleasure listening to you share your journey of stop motion. And I think I'll give you the stage right now. So welcome, Shar.
Thanks a lot. Okay, hi everyone. First of all, I hope we can keep this easy and informal. So I think what I'm going to do is the first 15 or so minutes, I'll kind of talk to you all about my journey so far, how I got into stop motion animation, and where I'm at right now. And what I'll do is also, I'll keep that part of it short. And what I want to do is maybe I'm going to take one of my projects, which is right now also on Instagram, and I'll break it down for you all from basically from when I get the project and planning and pre-production all the way up to post-production. And I'll break it down step by step for you guys with some making of images and such things. And and then after that, we'll open it up to a nice discussion, hopefully, where I think I'll also get some insights from all of you, which will be cool. So basically, I am a self-taught stop motion animator, but I have not been doing stop motion animation all my life. I studied I did my mass comm degree from Mount Carmel College in Bangalore. I am from Bangalore. Bangalore is home, but I live and work in Bombay. So I did my mass comm, and in the third year I figured, film looks like fun. I want to do film. I want to make films. And I had big dreams. And so I joined a production house in Bangalore soon after college. But I mainly ended up doing corporate videos and films in that production house, and I pretty much hated it. There was no, it was not at all creative, and I don't know, it just ended up being a lot of just organization. And I felt like at that point I was not learning much, but truth is I did learn a lot of the basics that I needed back then to understand film itself, but not filmmaking in terms of creatively. It was more just understanding the technicals of it. So I worked there for about a year and a half, and then I quit, and I was pretty lost even at that point. And a lot of my peers had either gone into journalism, joined newspapers, or joined radio, or had joined news channels. But a bunch of them had moved to Bombay and joined production houses. They were working in TV, ad films, all of that. So I figured that's eventually going to be my path, but I still wasn't feeling sure. So I took a year off. I took what you call a sabbatical year, I guess. And I tried a whole bunch of random things, from making, me and a couple of my friends started a hand-painted T-shirt company, did well, closed it down. Then my brother was in a band, so we made a music video for them, and that I really enjoyed. Just my friend had a camera, and a whole bunch of us got together, did all sorts of crazy stuff, and it was a lot of fun. So at that point, I figured that I want to create in the visual medium, and in that 1 year, that sabbatical year, I also tried a stop motion thing on my own. It was like a short film, which I will not willingly show to anybody, but it's there somewhere in the interwebs. So I made that, and back then, so this was in 2009. So back then there were no stop motion apps or software or anything like that. So kind of just did it by hand, like camera on tripod, shoot, see what comes of it later. Now when I think back to it, I don't even actually remember how I did it. And it was not so bad for what it was. And it was my first try at stop motion. But as much fun as that was, I think by the end of that sabbatical year, I figured either I study further or I move to Bombay and learn on the job, which is also like studying really, which is also like university in a sense. So when I looked at the fees at universities, the choice was kind of obvious. I was going to come to Bombay because the fees were insane everywhere. And I, of course, at that point had like big dreams. I was like, I wanted to do an MFA at NYU or Columbia or some such nonsense. Sorry, I'm calling it nonsense. No offense to anyone from there. But for me, it was kind of, I feel like too ambitious at that point. But also probably not the right fit for me, because then I moved to Bombay. And I moved to Bombay technically without a job, but by the second day I got a job at a production house because someone who knew someone connected me to somebody in that production house, and I got the job. This is how it kind of worked back then, I suppose now also. So it was a production house, not like a really big, great production house or anything like that. But I started my journey there as an assistant director in Bombay. And they mainly did ad films, a little bit of films, and also did live events and small AVs and things like that. So it was really, for me, it was exposure to everything visual in terms of film, camera, that sort of a setup. And so then I started there. I worked there for a year and a half, pretty much did everything and anything. And I learned a lot. We did a lot of ad films and a lot of big ad films for like brands like back then Hero and Sahara and all the big brands. So brands like that. So the scale of a lot of these ad films was pretty large, pretty huge. So I kind of got a first-hand understanding of how the structure is, how things work, client agency, line producer, everything, director. And a lot of the directors were freelance directors who came on board for every project. So within a year and a half, I also understood that there's scope to be a freelancer in the industry, freelance assistant director, because you can work on project basis with different production houses once, you have enough work and your name gets out and things like that. So a year and a half there under the designation of slave, and then I got out of there. But I learned a lot there, a lot about life also, a lot about the hustle culture of Bombay also, because, I'm from Bangalore. The pace of life in Bangalore is very different. I think a lot of you here know that. And in Bombay, it's really different. No matter what anyone says about other cities growing, Bombay film industry, resources, it's just up there. And people here are here to work, and that's the energy you're surrounded by. So I got out of that production house and I started freelancing. And initially, it takes time for you to get projects, but within a few months, actually, things really picked up. So in a month, I'd end up doing at least 2 projects as an assistant director. And I initially thought I wanted to do feature films. But as I started working in Bombay, I realized ad films was more exciting for me because it was short-term commitments and it was growth and learning with every new project. And so I ended up working I started as a second AD, moved up to director's assistant, and then a first AD. And I would like to say that I was doing pretty well in that space, but really I wanted to make my own stuff, which is to say I wanted to become a director. But the truth is, as I worked in the industry, I also realized I don't want to become a director in that space as in ad films, because it's not like in feature films where the director gets a lot of creative freedom. In ad films, there's an agency and there's a client, and they get a lot of say because, of course, it's their brand and it's the language they've set for the brand and for the film they want to make and all of that. So in many ways, a director is doing much lesser than you imagine in terms of setting the script or the story or like I said, the language of the brand and things like that. Also, in that time, I learned that maybe I didn't fully agree with the way the industry worked in terms of like pace. I think I managed to do it. I fit in decently well, but I didn't want to fit into that. Which is that the thinking is that the deadline was yesterday. So that's a very hectic pace, and as much as I managed it, I didn't like it. And also the industry, in a sense, the expectation is that whatever you're doing, you have to drop life and do this and do it in this moment now, because if you don't do it, the world will end. That's sort of a sort of energy. And it just didn't really match with me after a point. And I had reached my own saturation at this point. And so I decided to take a break just to shake my head up and feel inspired again. I think it had also become a bit of a rut for me because I didn't want to become a director either. So I was stuck. So I kind of decided to take all my savings and spend it towards maybe doing a couple of courses is what I thought, and just, feel inspired again. So I found a couple of really nice courses at the School of Visual Arts in New York. And so with my savings and a little borrowed from my parents, I went to New York for 3 months, short time in that sense, to do a couple of courses. But one of the courses was stop motion animation. And we basically just built a puppet and made it walk. That was all we did in that entire 3-month period. And it just, like, that just put the kira in me. And, like, I just wanted to do this now. Or do more with this, what I'd learned. And also New York in itself was, in so many ways, life-changing for me, because it just woke me up to a world beyond what I had so far been exposed to. And that was very exciting for me. And so I came back, still worked as an AD for another year, but by then I had already started feeling like I want to make my own film. And so I decided to take a break and move to Bangalore, back home, for what I thought would be just 3 months, and I'll make a short film, a stop motion animation short film, but it ended up being 18 months. And 18 months, by the end of which I had my first short film called Tata's Secret. And in those 18 months, it was kind of like going to university only, but the university of YouTube and World Wide Web, because there is so much information out there on the internet. You can learn anything if you put your mind to it and kind of give it the time and effort it needs. And so in those 18 months, I decided to play every role in the whole crew in that sense of making my film. So, because I wanted to understand it top to bottom in a sense, or at least try my hand at it, so that eventually when I get into it and I bring on talent that actually is an expert in, say, camera or lighting or whatever it is, I at least have the right language, because I have the experience or the understanding at least of what goes into doing that job. And so I ended up starting from script to storyboard to sets, puppets, camera, lighting, blocking, post-production, learned a little bit, I want to say little bit, but learned enough of After Effects that is useful for my project, and Photoshop and editing, of course, I knew already. Photoshop also I kind of knew already, but generally gave myself the time to learn things, and so made my film. And I want to say this was about 7 years back, and I want to say I was much more fearless then, I think, because there was a sense of, what do I have to lose? I'll try, I'll make this film. If it doesn't look good, or not look good, you know what I mean? Like, if it doesn't feel good by the end of it, and if I'm not happy with it, then I have my AD job to go back to, and I'll move up towards becoming an ad film director. I'll figure it out. I had some sort of, I don't want to say confidence, because I don't think that's a trait most artists have. But yeah, I just had a fearlessness, I think. And that really helped me, that really gave me a push, because then I applied my film to a lot of festivals. Understanding how to send it to festivals and all of that also was information I learned off the internet, which was fantastic. Like, everything is available if you just look. And it's amazing how much people want to share online. People are not gatekeeping always. So that's, especially I think the animation community is not the sort that gatekeeps, I believe. So I learned a lot of the internet. And so I sent my film to festivals, and it got picked up at a few festivals, especially like a couple of them which unexpectedly, I thought, I mean, they were quite prestigious, I feel. And I didn't expect that journey for the film or for myself. And obviously after that, I was like, yeah, man, I want to do this. I want to give this a go. But I had no idea of how I'm going to make money out of this, or where it's going to take me. Like, because like Vishal said right at the beginning, there are not too many stop motion animation people in India, except for the big studios, and they're amazing. But again, there are just a handful, right? So for a lot of us, there are no examples, home-based, like examples from within our home to learn from, and to understand their journey, and to see what is the scope for me if I want to do stop motion animation full time. And I also have no background in animation, so I don't know 2D or 3D. It was straight into stop motion, and that's all it has been till now.
I think like, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No
think
worries.
as I was listening to your story, I kind of had a feeling like you've tried it all. You know, you've been the AD, and you've been behind the camera. You've been behind working with actors. You've worked with, you tried stop motion before you actually
Got into
it. So it kind of feels like you've explored enough to understand. Like I kind of like really like how you went about with that. Like it's not like I don't think anyone has that vision like I want to be this right now.
Yes. No, I mean, to be honest, I didn't have that either. It's been a lot of trial and error. I'm now at a place where I'm like, I love this too much. So I want to like give this a go and do whatever it takes, because I'm really enjoying this right now, which is not to say that a few years from now, I may want to make a live action film as well. I may want to do that. And everything equips me to do whatever next I want to do is my approach. So with stop motion, it's such a perfect hybrid of animation itself and live action also. So that's kind of, it's married the two worlds that I love so much. So right now it makes sense to me and who I am as well, I guess. Yeah.
And I think your drive to be a director sort of shaped and, eventually got you to be a stop motion director. Like you had mentioned, you weren't comfortable with the atmosphere and where the industry was going over there. So you just pivoted and you sort of evolved to this position, I like that's very admirable. I feel like, a lot of people, that is something that a lot of people miss out on understanding, that once you decide to be something, you have to be this. That is what I feel like everybody thinks.
Yeah.
But, later on, once you're actually something, you have the option to evolve into something else.
Yeah, so like I feel like a lot of what I learned when I was working as an assistant director has been very useful to me in stop motion now in so many ways. And I'm not just talking technicality of filmmaking. I'm talking about I'm talking about structure and organization, which is so key to animation that no one ever understands outside of unless you're an animator, that you actually can't be casual and do whatever you feel like. You have to have some structure. You have to have a bit of a schedule for any project you take up. So a lot of that stuff I learned as an assistant director, and I mean my pre-production is very solid now because of everything I learned in ad films as an assistant director. So yeah, I mean if there's anyone else who wants to say anything else, I'm open to it. If not, I'll take you guys through one of my projects and I'll break it down for you. Do you want me to get into that now, or do you guys want to talk a little more?
Yeah, guys, like we want a conversation to happen. So this is not a formal event or anything. I think a lot of I think I see a lot of new faces, and a couple of my students are also here.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, Rishabh, go ahead.
Hi, good. Sure. Yeah. 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 So, okay, that one was. I didn't always have the patience. Okay, I have to be very honest. I had a point, like the first. I want to say it took me about 4 months. So the first 2 months, I was still gung ho. I was still like, yeah, let's get out. Then I knew that every day I can manage to do at most 2 locations and at most like 4 seconds of animation. Even 4 is a lot, but at most I could do that much. So in the first 2 months, I pushed myself a lot more. But by that 2 month mark, I was just dead tired. I didn't lose patience, but I was mentally fatigued because I'll tell you why. The reason was not about how I made it. It was more of why am I making this, which is something, I mean, I'll find myself questioning quite often every time I'm making something for myself or experimental. I'm like, what am I making this for? Just for Instagram? Like, what is there? Who is some 21? I'll get some random views, some random likes, and then what? I mean, that does happen mentally. But also, I think what kept me going was that every time I shot, I came back, I put it together. It was feeling good. It was feeling like, man, I'm bringing this dabba to life. What a cool feeling. It's almost a silly sentence to say, but it feels awesome to bring something to life, something inanimate. And I think that's what will keep me going in stop motion for a long time, is that I want to say this as humbly as I can, but it's that God feeling, that I can bring life to something. And also, I think what kept me going was that I saw that my animation was turning out to be quite smooth, which was seeing growth in my own animation. And that was huge for me because it was not looking like that sort of staccato stop motion style necessarily, but it was still very much stop motion. But it was an improvement from my previous works till now. So, yeah, but I will say it takes a bit of, like, you have to be a patient person also for stop motion. I will not recommend this to anybody and everybody. There is a level of craziness involved in choosing stop motion animation. I know this and I accept this now. I don't think I did initially, but now I see why. Like, I'm willing to break my back, but I want this thing to move. And that's a little stupid, but yeah, it's part of it. So if you want to do stop motion, obviously there are occupational hazards, which is all of this. But the rewards are like, I don't know. And if that is exciting to you, then I would say do stop motion animation.
No, I totally relate with you. The thing that you mentioned, right? Because like I also like last year, like since like I'm also like a 2D animator, the smoky After Effects going around and making scenario videos. But I wanted to like, do something other than that. So last year I just made a quick stop motion with the highlighters that were there on my desk. I
Oh, nice.
of just seeing the stuff, added the camera or tripod. So that was my very first shot. Though it had very like a few frames were not the properly focused, but I forgot to do it manually from the camera, right? But it's like I have anyway. But it's like they were the first to put it out on the story or when you're post with the in the second day. Like the moment I did it and I'm like I have to push it out.
Yeah.
Inside egoism, but it's just something that gives me happiness now.
Right.
It's like I just shot for like 3 to 4 hours for that day, but considering you're 3 to 4 months, like that's like a tons of like multiplier, right? So
Yeah, but I mean, you're saying you did 3 to 4 hours and this was your first try, right?
yeah,
My first try was also that. Now I'm a little, I've spent time with it. So now I have the maybe understanding and also patience to give it more time. So I mean, I think that's the journey. I also started at 3-4 hours and I'm like, oh man, I made this ball of clay move, put it up. So yeah, I totally understand that feeling. So yeah.
but like thanks so much for like creating such an amazing work and inspiring
Yeah.
us.
Waseeb has two questions.
Go
He's
for
put
it.
them in this chat. Do you
Okay.
want to wait? Do you want to wait for that, or do you you want to first shows the work? Because I know a lot of people here are dying to see your work. I've been blown away by it when I first saw it on stage, and
Okay.
I've always felt like, okay, this is it's Tim Burton level over there, and
That's too much. No. No, guys, I will
like
only
I've never
do-
seen that like level of quality coming from one person. So it's
Sure.
always like I've always been thinking like I've got to try something like that.
Yeah, that yes.
So I'll just ask Waseeb's question.
Yeah,
and
maybe
then,
after
like,
that, when I'll show you guys, I'll just break down one project for you guys. Then I'm sure people will have more questions to ask me. Then yeah.
So Waseeb has stop motion is time consuming. Does your clients have the patience to see the output? Can you break your process specific for the clients?
Yeah. Oh, perfect. This kind of marries into what I'm going to show you.
Oh,
Yeah. So basically, clients don't have time. That's the simple answer.
You can actually show the show your work as well, because I think that would be a good segue.
Yeah. I can. But to quickly answer that, when it comes to brands and ad films or even digital like when I mean say digital, I mean like social media output that brands want. Like I said, it's the world of advertising again. They wanted it yesterday. The deadline was yesterday. That's how they work. And that does not marry well with stop motion at all. But that's also because I want to say in India, I don't think our not our industry, but I don't think ads, agencies or clients for that matter have as much exposure to stop motion animation as, like, I can say the UK. In the UK, a lot of brands and clients, agencies will write scripts for stop motion animation. They already have an understanding of what goes into doing it, in terms of how much time it takes, in terms of budget, in terms of just the kind of setup and talent you need to hire. So they actually write for stop motion. In India, they don't do that. And so when you tell them, they send you a script and you tell them it'll take at least a month and a half, they don't understand why. And then they're like, chodo yaar, we'll just, do something else. We'll go some other route with it, which I totally respect. I understand that. But it also comes from them not knowing enough about how stop motion needs to be made. All they're seeing is the end product. So they're like, "Arey, that looks cool, na? So we'll just do it." It's how did it become cool like that? It takes a lot to make it. That part, I think, is still like we all still have to kind of educate more of the people who have the money. And then, which I think, see, like studios like Ixorus and all are doing that. They've done that for us already. They've sort of paved the path already. But still, I mean, I think a lot of us haven't yet. I'll say, I have managed to do that, but I also have privilege and that I can do this only right now. And I have also built a database when I was in ad films, so that database helps me now. But that can't be for everybody. So yeah, but what I'll do is maybe now I'll get into the process of. I'm just going to show you all one project that I did for this brand called Slice. Again, it's on my Instagram, and not the cold drink brand. It's a card like Cred. They had Slice. So it was 3 15-seconders for them. And I got this project because I had worked with the agency person before. And they knew that I had moved into stop motion and they'd seen my work since then. And so she actually kind of wrote this to do it in stop motion, which worked out beautifully. And they were a really nice client to work with. But again, there was things like time, budget, all of that. So yeah, I'll present and then I'll explain each thing quickly to you all. So allow to share window. One second.
Are you able?
What do I? Can you all see my window? See the window?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just start with the films and then.
I think.
There's no sound?
Wait, it could be just my end. Okay, I think like you've got the screen presenting on the the video this thing itself and not on the on the Google Meet itself and not on the product.
Okay. So I'll just share my screen then. And then maybe.
And there's a stop presenting, ignore kind of thing.
Yeah, I'll just do this. Share entire screen. Now can you?
Okay. Yeah, this works.
Yeah.
So I think can you? Is it me or I can't hear the sound actually?
No sound. Okay. How do I get some? Right. Okay. Then I guess. Sorry, guys.
No,
I'll
no
just
problem.
have to say allow to share window or share screen. Okay. Window. Let me try this. Let's see. Yeah. Now can you all see?
Yeah.
Continuation. Just tell me if the sound is working again, yeah?
Not for me, but I think
Yeah. Okay.
If I may,
Yeah.
it's actually, excuse me, Vishal Rishabh.
Yeah, sure. Go
I'd
ahead.
like to, sorry to interrupt, but Google
Yeah.
Meet actually doesn't allow to share the audio except a particular tab. So you can't really
Okay.
share the audio from tabs.
Okay, that's fine.
or
That's
picture.
fine. You'll
Okay.
just watch it for what it is, and maybe
Yeah.
you can. Yeah.
How come
Okay.
you had this problem earlier? Because
I don't know.
You probably never shared audio, I guess. Yeah. Okay.
we actually did, but I think it could be, because we
Maybe-
actually had it on tabs earlier. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'll just quickly share it without audio, guys. Anyway, it's really short, so
Yeah.
okay. I think you saw this already. I'll move to the next one. Yeah.
The amount of details on it is, yeah, you've got.
And this is the third one. Yeah.
Yeah. Prashant is saying, I love the details.
Sweet. So I'll get into that with you guys now, with a lot of behind the scenes sort of stuff. So basically, like I said, this came to me through a client that I'd worked with before, and then what happens is they give me the script already, and then I'm essentially to now visualize it for them. So they gave me the 3 scripts. They had this idea. They wanted a coin character and a card character, and they'd given me the setup also in a sense. Basically, I had to first give them a treatment note, which is essentially giving them a sense of how I'm looking at it and how I visualize it. And also, I have to share a few references with them. And once they're okay with the treatment note, then it goes into a quick discussion on budget and schedule. Now, budgeting for, if you all don't mind, I'll give you a quick brief on budgets also. I think that's very important to all
Yes,
of our work.
very important.
Yeah, don't do any work for free, guys. So basically, the budget, I give them an estimate based on, with stop motion, it's hybrid, right? I have equipment that I need to put into my budget as well. So there's camera, lights, studio. I usually, if it's a biggish project like this one, I rent a studio for shoot dates. And all the making part of it I do at home. But if it's even larger than that, then I would take up a space as well. And the schedule for this was about a month because that's the time they had. And so a month is also kind of tight for something like this because in the whole making part of it, we were just 2 of us doing it. So a month was tight, but it was doable. So my budget has subheads of equipment, location, art materials. If there's something like costume and all of that, and I need to bring in a costume person, then there's that as well. And then there's other expenses like storyboarding. And for this film, I brought in someone to do the character design. And so that was something like this that I presented to the client. So the character designer for this was, I think some of you will know her. Her name is Siddhi. She's a really amazing illustrator, animator. So I could have done the character design too, in a sense, because why not? But then I really wanted a different pair of eyes on my characters because beyond a point, you start to realize how similar your work is looking and it starts to become a bit of a drag. And I think it's very important to bring in fresh eyes and fresh ideas through people for projects where you can hire talent, where you have the budget for talent. So I was really glad I brought on someone to do it. So the client's brief was pretty simple. They just wanted a coin character and a card character. They, of course, don't go into any other details like how the eyes look, how the mouth look, how the eyebrows, hands, this, that look. But when I'm discussing it with the character designer, I have to think about a lot of things because I'm going to make the puppet. So it has to move a certain way. So I can't have my designer making something that is not practical for me to build as a puppet and move as a puppet. So, like for instance, the coin that you see, she can't have like an extended shoulder because then that'll become bulky looking and also isn't realistic for this round shaped body. And so those kind of details I have to consider. Plus also the realization that these are essentially flat characters. They don't have that much mass. So how am I going to animate them? How am I going to block my shots accordingly so they don't look awkward when they're in profile? And will I even keep them in profile? I don't think so. Those sort of details. And then also what do the eyes look like? What will the color be? All of that. So I have to share this with the client always because they have to approve it at every stage. And that's just part of advertising and that is the world. And it's just better to do it that way. I know it's frustrating for all of us sometimes as artists, but I think it's important. So once I did the character design, then I moved into storyboarding it. And the storyboard essentially is my Bible. So in the sense that whatever you see that are the frames of my storyboard, it's a basic storyboard, it's very rough. But whatever my storyboard frames are, that's exactly what my film looks like. So if you all want to do a comparative analysis of this, you'll see that there's not much, there are not so many changes. I've followed it as closely as I can. And so when I'm doing the storyboard, I'm already thinking of my edit. And that's how I have to approach stop motion also, because everything you see in your storyboard frame is what you're going to build, is what you're going to make. So that becomes very important as well. And for the client's sake, you send a look and feel sort of a docket as well. Of course, it doesn't look anything like this, my set, but it's a feel you give for yourself and for your client as well. So it's important. And then from here, I go into making. So till that point, the client is very involved in giving me quote unquote approvals. From there on, it's my playground and I start creating. And here, the first image you see is the skeleton or the armature of my puppet. And then with this project was the first time I was working with silicone. I wanted my coin character to be able to bend and to be able to animate the coin body if I could. And so I tried out silicone, which was a whole learning process for me. And in this, I made a lot of mistakes, but I pulled it off somehow. But I learned enough to now do it better in the future. Mm-hmm. And this also meant I tried out an Indian silicone brand. And unfortunately, living in Bombay means living with humidity. And these are all factors I have to think of when I'm building something. So it goes beyond your computer screen. It goes beyond your understanding of animation. It goes beyond your understanding of materials also. It's a very sort of vast world to learn in stop motion animation, which I think I'm enjoying still, because with every project, I'm still learning new things. I'm still making a lot of mistakes, but I'm also improving from a lot of the previous mistakes, which is cool. So I ended up having to buy silicone from the US. Thankfully, someone was coming down. And surprisingly, that silicone has worked really well. So it's also that fight for good materials that I don't have here. So I have to wait for someone to go to the US or UK and then bring it for me and things like that. But eventually you get a character, and the hands and legs was again wire covered in foam, which is something you figure out. Should the character have 4 fingers, 3 fingers? All kinds of random things you have to kind of work out and think about. How will the mouth look? How will the eyebrows look? All of that, which is a lot of fun. But of course, when there's a deadline, it's a little nerve-wracking, but it's still good fun. And then you can see some more sort of behind the scenes in that sense. Even with the props and the sets, what materials do I use to make it? Because I don't want my set to look real. I'm not trying to recreate an actual place, but I want it to look somewhat realistic in their world. So for the gym equipment, I used paper for all the equipment and sunboard, things like that. So you figure out all those things. And when you're making the puppet, you have to make sure you have a rigging point at the back. so that you have a way to make the puppet stand. And building your set also then becomes about how you place things. So in order to do a sort of camera blocking, I take a printout of the size to scale of those puppets, and these are just cardboard cutouts that are placed there. And from the image on the left to the right, you can see how it's going to look on camera and what I need to do to fix which part of it. And so I get an understanding of scale, I get an understanding of, where I can hide the rig, how much of the rig will show that I have to clean up on post, things like that. How each material looks on the screen as well, all of that is also important. And then from there you go into shoot. And these are just images to show you guys how a sort of shoot of this size may look like and what is there. So here I had to hire a studio space and do it, and hire the lights and things like that. But there are enough projects that I do, within my home space with my basic lighting setup at home as well. But there is something you can pull off with better equipment that you can't pull off just at home. So, I will say that, stop motion is just, take anything, put it in front of a camera, animate. But also with every new thing that you do, try to scale up. Try to make your work reach a quality that you've probably seen online and you're like, oh, that looks good. How do I do that? It comes with scaling up also. So as much as you can do things with in a DIY kind of way, it's good to keep, sort of scaling up and things like that. So another thing with when you shoot stop motion, and I would say this for most animation, I guess, but only do as much as is needed for your shot that you see in the frame. You don't need to make more than that. So in the second image, if you see, I've not necessarily put the sand all across. I don't need to, because the camera angle will be such that you won't see it. So things like that. So create only what is needed for your shot and not more than that, because in itself, all of this is pretty backbreaking and hard work already. So work smart, for sure. And this last image that you'll see at the bottom right, I tried to give a sort of track and movement with my camera, but I couldn't hire a motorized slider, which actually you can connect to the software that I use called Dragon Frame, which is industry standard software. And in that you can actually kind of automate it and things like that. But unfortunately, that's not something I have done yet. But I hope to do that with my next project, where I create movement within camera for animation. So what it does is, with every move of with every click of your camera, it moves in the sort of trajectory that you've already pre-designated for it, which is, as a software, Dragon Frame is just fantastic. And if any of you are looking to kind of get into stop motion, I would seriously suggest investing in Dragon Frame first. It literally just ups your game already, because you want to do something awesome because you have this software. So it's like a mutual existence of better quality in the work. So
it has onion skinning built in, right?
Yeah, it has onion skinning. You can also toggle between your live view and the last picture you took. So you understand this, how much you have moved or how much you need to move. And it's also kind of putting it into a string of images already as a video. So you can play and see how the movement is already happening. And these are just the basic features in it. It goes way beyond that. There's so much more in Dragon Frame, and I don't know the software well enough yet. And it's that well developed and that deep a software that I'll keep learning new things every day when I use it. So I would suggest that to anyone looking to get into it.
Sorry. Something that's been bugging me ever since I saw your presentation in AGI. It's I think it was the presentation with all the animals.
Yeah.
So, how did you manage to animate several characters? Like, did you have to like separately animate them, or on separate scenes and then composite them together, or did you do?
So that one, I did it all in one scene itself, which meant I had I was making note of each animal's movement every time I took the image, and it was quite crazy feat in that sense. Yeah, now when I think back to it, I'm like, oh shit, how did I even do that? But that one shot, which actually shows up for exactly 2 seconds in that app. Sorry?
So do you want to ask a question?
Can't you?
Yeah. If it's all right, you can put a type of different. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Go ahead.
Huh. No, is someone asking a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sudhi has a question, so.
Sure. Please ask.
If you can't, feel free to actually also type it out. I can ask it for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me. So before Sylvia actually types out her question, I had jumping back onto the conversation. Was it ever confusing to keep up with the all of the animal movements? Is like, yeah, this is going too much messy. Has it ever gone messy? Like,
Yeah.
ये बहुत हो गया.
हाँ, बिल्कुल. I mean, absolutely. So ideally, in a scene like that, there should be at least 2 animators, and it should be divided. That's the ideal way to do it. I did that film in the middle of the pandemic, like it was lockdown, so I had to do that by myself, and also I had to take up that project because I had to survive. So I actually shot that in my house even. And it was crazy, and I would not recommend just one person animating so many movements at a time. But what I did was I also, I have to cheat my audience a little bit also. So I know where your eyes might mostly go. So I'm going to focus more on giving those characters more movement. And the ones where I can give less movement, I'll make it lesser. And that's just how I kept it. And even another thing on that shot is I decided to shoot on 2s instead of on 1s. I have now started shooting on 1s, which is like 24 frames. But on that one, I shot it 12 frames per second. So that gave me like fewer frames to keep track of also. So I, of course, cheated a lot, which is this cheat or jugaad is the
I think
way.
a better word would be filmmaking.
Or that, yeah, or that. No, I'm saying cheat in the nicest way possible, like as in it's
a better sugar-coated way of saying it.
Yeah, or it's like it's a smarter way to work.
Yeah.
So I did that, but yeah, if you look at it closely, you will find tons of mistakes, or you'll find tons of like glitches. Now I just had to that's why I'm saying cheat, is because I have to trick you into believing that everything is moving smoothly. But yeah, I have made a lot of mistakes in that. But again, I want to mention Dragon Frame here again. The beauty of the software is that you can delete your previous frame. You can go back to a frame before and you can start from there, which means your subjects will have to go back to that frame. But you can still, work it out a little bit from there. So as a software, it has taken stop motion to the next level, which people doing stop motion 20 years back will look at us now and say, you guys have it easy, because actually it has made it so much better. I don't want to say easy, it's made it better. Like the quality of work coming out now will be better for sure, thanks to the software as well. So yeah, no, that scene was tough for sure. Now that you guys are reminding me of it, I'm like, yeah, that was not easy.
Yeah, but thinking about how you did that is actually giving me a headache.
Actually, I don't know. I mean, till once you get into it, like you'll pull it off. It's that kind of a feeling, I think. Yeah. So like even this one, the movement, I made a lot of mistakes. I won't play the film for you again, but if you will go see it on my Instagram, you'll realize that my cleanup job on this, the rig removal job, was really bad. So you'll see like everything around it, like there's an earthquake or something, because I made the mistake of not taking a clean background for every move, which is what I ideally should have done. And so, I mean, I'll tell you what I mean, but when you guys go back to it now, you might get a sense of how bad the compositing job actually is. But yeah, I mean, from shoot, it goes into just animating, and then you're just sitting there and you're spending this shot took me maybe, I think, 4 hours to animate. But it's just 4 hours of constantly small movements.
Mhm.
And yeah, and so the rig, I wonder if you guys can see the rig that's holding the coin character. So then I had to clean that out. So like that, I had to clean it out in the entire film. So that is what mainly post-production becomes initially. So it looks like this as a raw image on your right, and then on your left is the cleaned up image. Which is the part I, to be honest, hate the most. It is a painful job, and I think I've not figured out a lot of the tricks here yet in terms of how to shoot it well enough for the post-production team to have an easier time cleaning up and compositing and things like that. Initially, what I used to do was actually take every frame into Photoshop and clean every frame. Then I started doing it on After Effects with the mask, but it still doesn't give you that desired effect. And talking of that scene where all the animals were in that film, that required me to clean up like 4 rigs, sorry. And I had not taken backgrounds for all of them well enough. And the shadows and lights change. And then some of the leaves moved and I didn't realize they moved. So the clean slate that I had didn't work out. So a lot of these kind of mistakes that I've only very slowly started to work through and even preempt beforehand and think about. So a lot of my schedule also is given to post-production.
I just realized how even more difficult the animal scene was.
In the cleanup. But yeah, somehow.
So there is a question. I think Prashant's question got answered in this frame itself.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to ask if the bokeh, the lens blur, did you add it in post or shooting itself?
Yeah, so it's mostly shooting itself. I try to do as much as I can in shot so that I don't have to process too much in post. But some things, you have to. But mostly I try to make it all in shot. The only big difference you see is color grading. The grading, of course, I do post. But still, even my lighting, I try to bring it to as close to what I may like once I take it to grade also, so that there's not too much to do on grading. But I will, of course, do touch-ups and things like that. So stop motion is not without the help of all post-production tools. It very much requires it. So like I would have liked to clean up the body of this coin. It's patchy and it's bad because the material I used was not good and things like that. But I just decided to go with it because there's a certain joy to realizing that this is so handmade also and that there is a hand touching this. So This is something I think I realized about my aesthetic and my style also, is that I think I like that about stop motion. So what you guys may see that Leica Studios, all their films, it's like crisp, it's super clean and nice. You can't imagine hands have touched those puppets. But as much as I love watching that, I realized it doesn't speak to me as a creator, as an artist, as a filmmaker. So I think you'll see that I tend to retain a lot of flaws also within my characters now. And I see myself doing that for most of my projects in the future.
So Rohit has a question. Hi Sharanya, great work. Quick question. Have you tried any of the ready-made armatures available online? What do you think about that, Paul?
Yeah. I have. I in fact bought a ball and socket joint from this animation toolkit. I also wanted to buy one from Aman Gupta. He's a stop motion animator with I haven't yet got down to buying it, and I don't think he's making them right now because he's quite busy. But I'm still struggling to smoothen my animation with ball and socket joint armatures. So even in my latest puppet, actually the armature is made out of wire and balsa wood and foam and things like that. But I'm going to spend some time maybe trying to get better with ball and socket armatures, and I would like to make my puppets with ball and socket more because they're sturdier. They eventually, if I get good at it, it'll give me much more movement for my puppets than wire might. And wire, more than anything, wire is just a little not as durable. So that's the only thing. Wire gives a little more feel of the hand. Ball and socket is very fixed at each joint. But right now I'm still a wire person. Maybe eventually I'll become ball and socket. So yeah, I have tried one. I would say if you are up to it, try it out too. I'm not against it.
It feels like a choice of brush for an artist.
Exactly. It is exactly that. But it comes down to practicing with that brush, right? So it'll really be about practice, your comfort. So
Nikul has a question. Do you have any advice or suggestions for beginners in stop motion?
Yeah. I mean, I think not just beginners, all of us, especially to myself, I keep pushing myself to keep practicing. Whatever it is, if I have even like a small random idea, I have my own camera, so that's good for me. And you can, of course, do this with your phone also. But if I have some random idea also, I just kind of put down the camera and I try it out. Which I think has been a good practice for me. In fact, that's my, the actual behind the scenes is me doing random things like everything you're seeing on this screen. I hope everything is moving.
Oh, yeah.
So these are all really random, really basic. You can see the ball and socket armature. This was something I tried like 4 years back. I know I'm better with the ball and socket armature now. But I feel it's important to just do random shit and keep trying random stuff. So I think this is one big advice I will give to people starting out, people who are just excited by stop motion, and people who are well into it also, is to like and try with different materials. So like if you see the bottom right, I just tried using felt, not felt. It's actually that cotton in your cushions. I try to see if that looks nice like a wave over some random kinetic sand or something like that. So even understanding materials and things like that can give you a sense of what kind of animation look is your kind of vibe and things like that. So This water one that you see is a test I did for what eventually became part of one of my films, which I think a lot of people enjoyed seeing how I made water move with gel. So I made sure I put this one in. This was the first test. So this was still me trying to understand how does hair gel move and how can I make it look like water. What I eventually did in the film was a much smaller part of it, but I think it moved much better. But that's because I managed to try it before that. So, yeah. So,
if I remember correctly, you had a lot of almonds move through the gel.
oh yeah.
Because that time when I first watched it, I was thinking, how did she do the water? So
Yeah.
it's not water, but it just feels very much
Feels
like water.
Yeah, and I think that's a big one in stop motion animation is like you just have to make your viewer feel like they're watching that. The quality of the object has to be right. You might use something else for it that doesn't matter. So, like the way a lot of people end up using paper to represent so many other kind of materials, it's amazing. So it's just looking at a material and thinking, oh, this could work as that. That's the fun of it also.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that's actually one of my top advices for anybody wanting to try this out. But I mean, in that sense, I have a lot of suggestions, but I would say practice is a big one. Yeah, practice and like. So it's not right for me to say this because I myself don't put out so much of my work actually. Like this screen that I'm sharing with you all right now, only I have ever seen all of this, and this is the first time I'm sharing this random stuff with anybody else. So
thank you for sharing that.
yeah, I mean, so which is just me trying to say that you got to do random shit, and not all of it looks good, but or like that. Don't keep seeking perfection. Just start doing, and then eventually something will work. That sort of thing. Yeah.
Nice.
So
I can add. Sorry. Yeah.
I'll just escape my presentation because I'm kind of done with it.
Yeah.
And you guys can.
I actually, Rishabh, is it okay if I ask Wasim's question now? And then I think, yeah, so Wasim earlier had a question which I actually intentionally kept it at the last because that's kind of it's a very important question that, that's everyone's been facing. Like, how has AI...
Oh man!
So yeah, I know it's a very
okay, so
it's a very difficult question.
Yeah, no. So I mean, initially I did not have any thoughts on this because I was like, I don't know enough. But having spoken to a few other stop motion people now, I think I'm forming some thoughts about it. So, of course, AI has now become sophisticated enough that you can recreate a stop motion look also. But I think I had mentioned at AGI, but I'll mention it here again. I had the good fortune of going and pitching my next film idea at an industry stop in Poland called Animact. And there was the first time, this was last October 2024, I got to meet a lot of stop motion people from the world, and it was insane. I'd never met my kind. So it was amazing. And there, obviously, talk of AI came up. And I think a lot of them, especially big producers, actually were like, listen, with stop motion, there's nothing to be scared of when it comes to AI. AI is a tool, use it to help you, but don't make stop motion out of AI. And also understand that AI will never make the kind of mistakes you as a human will make. And stop motion is about the mistakes. It is your fingerprint on the clay that makes it so much more appealing to another human being. And I mean, this was all more like almost philosophical sounding and very beautifully said, but I don't disagree. It is in the mistakes that, stop motion, it is in the human mistakes that stop motion is still special. So yeah, AI will come in, it will take up some of our work away from us, but it won't still, take over stop motion animation. Also, stop motion animation is too niche. So I don't think we'll be the first people in the attack line. So, but they also said that just one more thing I'll say is that what they also said was, see, the beauty of stop motion is that it will look good and stand the test of time no matter what. Even now, when you look back at Tim Burton's first, you're like, fuck, it looks cool. Sorry, I hope language is okay. But you'll be like,
those.
yeah, sorry. But yeah, you'll be like, it still looks amazing, right? So, and I think that's one thing also with stop motion is that it will stand the test of time.
I'm not sure AI can actually provide that tactile experience that stop motion animation provides. Like it's a league of its own. So I'm not sure AI can attack you guys at the moment.
At the moment, yeah. Let's just be realistic. It's at the moment, and that's all we know. We don't know more. Sorry, Prashant, I think.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah.
So first of all, amazing work. I love the lighting. It's like a visual treat.
Thank you.
So I had a question I also do a lot of post work and VFX thing. So
quick introduction to Prashant. He's worked on works like Wednesday, the TV series, and Harry Potter, I believe.
No, not Harry Potter.
Not that lot of. I mean, I'm not familiar. I actually forgot. Sorry. Yeah, but he's one of the best VFX artists.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So
Amazing.
I wanted to ask, in normal movies, we do cleanup and all, with tracking, projecting this stuff on the track and all. But in stop motion, is it the same process, or is it we have to always do frame by frame cleanup work?
No, it's the same process in that initially I was doing it frame by frame because I thought that will still retain the qualities of a raw image as well, and it'll give me a high quality output for grading later. But then later, over time, I learned that I can still work on the uncompressed video, which Dragon Frame allows me to export, and then I can still do the cleanup in the same way that you do it for video. Because essentially at the end of it all, I'm just making video only.
Yeah.
So I can treat it as video itself. So as such, only now I'm slowly understanding my post-production workflow. I unfortunately, that's the one thing I have not found much information about. But I think it's a little bit of trial and error for me. But now I'm understanding that I can just clean up using the uncompressed video file and then push it into grading and things like that. So, yeah.
So I know if you need another hand on force, I will.
No, I will give it. I will happily give it. I don't want to do it. Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen Prashant's portfolio. Most of it is work that we've seen on Netflix and Amazon Prime. So.
Amazing. That's amazing.
So, I think Rishabh has a question, and Niranjan, you have 3 questions. So you're more than welcome to come forward and ask, because it just feels like I'm asking everybody's question on the chat.
So I was wondering, when you are making the character moves through a clear thing, right? So sometimes it might happen that let's say you're done with the 5-hour shot, but the shot is not complete. So do you remake the clay thing in the structure again in the next day? Otherwise the clay might get dried up, right? I'm not sure how.
Yeah, so if you're working with clay, for instance, there are things you can do. So again, the thing with a software like Dragon Frame or any other stop motion software is that you know the position of the last taken image. So main thing that shouldn't move is 2 main things is your camera, your equipment, and your table or whatever setup you're. Your character, you can take it out. If it's clay, for instance, as a material, it may lose shape, form. So take it, put it in your freezer, take it out the next day, put it back in there. It'll maintain form. So you have to figure out these tricks when you're working with different materials, and then you kind of Yeah. So if you have a shot as long as something that has to go into the next day, then you work all this out before you start the shot. That is that is the main thing to do, is that try to preempt what's going to happen and then work towards not letting the worst happen. That's why, yeah.
See, I'll Taksim, like, other stop motion artist, like someone from, I think, not from India for sure. So he did that, like, putting the things, this, like, under a mirror, and he's, like, penciling the clay, like, how does it people, or two clay just, like, gets this together, for right?
Okay.
He still, like, again stayed the, like, from the start theory. So basically, like,
Okay.
two different persons are up there with those characters. So connected together, getting sorted, and then getting sorted again.
Okay. So, no, so you know what he probably does there is that the first form are already created characters that he has made, and he replaces it at the end to make it look like that again. So in between, so it's kind of like, it's basically replacement animation. So in between he uses the clay that he's mixing up, but then as it's coming to the end, he'll use his replacement pieces, which are like different not positions, what's the word I'm looking for, but different moments within that final form.
Like, I have no idea how exactly it works in BTS, but yeah.
Okay, but replacement animation, basically.
Got it.
So he's already made those final forms, and then he just takes them, puts it in there at the end.
I see. I think that is much easier for him to do it, because you don't have to worry about the end result, because it's already done. Now
Yeah, exactly.
started only.
Exactly.
I'm curious actually, since Rishabh brought up the long shoots and how do you store it? Like, I'm curious if you use a temperature controlled room to shoot.
I should.
Oh,
is my answer. I should. I don't.
okay, so I think that's playing it wild.
Yeah.
It just feels like every project is a whole different adventure.
Yeah. 100%. That it is. Some things I've put in place now, but some things I'll keep figuring out as I go along. So, yeah.
And Niranjan, like, do you wanna come forward and ask your question? Or
Sure, I'll ask some of it. Thanks for this part. Thanks for the podium to ask. I hope you're well, Sharanya Ramesh.
Yes.
So, I think my most most concerning part of this all is like, how has this been affecting your health personally? Like, considering that this requires a great deal of focus over a long period of time.
Yes.
And this also requires a great deal of strain on various parts of the body, especially your working parts, including the spine and the arms.
Yes.
What are the major drastic effects that you've personally noticed over a larger period of time, considering I guess in the larger span of your career at least?
Yeah, my back has not been very happy about it, but I do yoga and I have an active life outside of stop motion, so that's helped a little. But yes, it is I can't ignore the fact that stop motion is difficult on the body. So some things, though, it's important is also the height at which I create my set, setting up my entire system is also set up in a way that is not making me stretch too far and things like that. So I have to set up all of that also smartly. So yeah, I do think about all of that, and I try to take care. But yes, you're not wrong to say that this is hard on the body.
Understood. Do you personally feel like there are currently any implants or general physical supplements that could ease the for a lack of a better term, the cognitive load that is often brought on by it? Have there been any such peripherals that you might have shortlisted or you're planning to invest in personally?
I don't think I fully understood your question. What do you mean?
I mean, like, are there any tools that can like help alleviate? Like, are there any particular tools that you might have like come across which will alleviate the process for you?
No, maybe I should pay more attention to this now that you brought it up. But no, I have no answers for you there, unfortunately. I'm going through it. Like I said, I do yoga, so maybe that's a good thing that helps. But that's about it, man.
Fair, understood.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks.
One more question I have.
Go on.
Yeah. So have you seen Pinocchio, the stop motion one?
Yeah, of course. Yes.
So I actually, like, some friends of mine worked on the post production of it.
Amazing.
So I noticed that there was some work done in post also. Like they with the sky and some
Correct.
effects stuff in the post. So like, how do you plan this kind of stuff? Like while shooting, is it similar to the live action footages, like movies and all?
Yeah, it's similar in the sense that, again, like I said earlier about my project also, the storyboard is your everything, or the animatic actually, not just storyboard, the animatic is your everything. So every frame, then every sort of team sits down to analyze what is needed, what goes into it before you actually get to the shoot floor. So in that sense, it's very similar to live action planning and scheduling. So your VFX team with Pinocchio was involved from pretty early on, I'm sure. So I got to meet the producer of Pinocchio, Melanie, at the same Poland thing, and she was amazing. The kind of insight she gave all of us, it was fantastic. So they pretty much had everything planned before they set up, started shooting. So it's like your animator who finally goes to the floor to animate has been given everything already, and now they just have to focus and move that thing to life. That's it. So even the VFX team is already on board and they know what has to be done. It's beautifully planned. These kind of this was Shadow Machine, and then Laika also. They all, like, their planning is just top level stuff. Yeah, top level.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So we are actually well past the hour mark.
Yeah.
I don't want to, keep. I don't want to keep
everyone.
Keep you up again, like more.
No,
I'll just ask. Sham has a question. Sham, if you want to come forward and ask, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, I'll ask for you. Okay, I'm actually getting tired of asking everybody's question.
Actually, no. I just read the messages. I should have done that right from the beginning. Sorry.
Read out the question because we're going to put it on YouTube as well.
Okay, right. So
I could ask.
Sham. Okay, I'll just read it quickly. Sham has asked, what would the toughest project you've ever worked on be? And what's one idea that you really want to do but haven't yet for whatever reason? Toughest project, I just want to say, will be... I have no idea. I mean, everything has been tough in its own way and has been rewarding in its own way. So I genuinely can't pick one. But the second question you asked, what's one idea that you really want to do that you haven't yet? Off the top of my head, I think I want to do something where I mix stop motion and live, and I can make a live character interact with a stop motion character. I want to try to do that and do it as seamlessly as possible. And that's... I think it'll be tough, but I would like to do that at some point. So I haven't got around to doing it, but I will at some point. Yeah.
That would be something else entirely. I mean, if you're putting a stop motion in a live shot, that's like making a statement. I mean,
there are a lot of guys who've done it amazingly well. I want to do it for my joy, so let's see.
I mean, like the amount of skill that you need. I mean,
planning,
and the planning and everything. So that's like next level.
Yeah, that's what. Actually, And I think the reason maybe I'm not yet done it is because it makes me nervous because I'm like, wow, that's a lot. I mean, I want to pull it off well. So I want to know how to pull it off, but I have to do it to know how to pull it off.
Okay.
It's a hers.
I think you definitely can. So like, I'll be I'll be looking
I
forward
will
to that.
I will take that vote of faith in.
Yeah, I think that is pretty much it for the questions and everything.
Vishal,
Yeah, yeah.
before we end, I have a very, very last question. So I was actually planning to keep it for the last part itself. Any recent projects that you have been working on
Yeah.
that you can share?
That I can share. I just finished a commercial. I just finished a commercial project last week, which was like for an ad actually. It was for an ice cream brand, and I just had to do the product window part of it. So I had to animate an actual tender coconut and an actual mango, which were their two flavors. So that was fun, and that was cool. So that'll come out soon. Maybe I'll.
How much of them did you like, consume it? What is the process?
It's so dirty by the end of it. You don't want to consume that. But also a lot of tricks you learn. So there was a food stylist on the shoot, which was new for me. And not new for me, but it was a lot of fun because the malai of the tender coconut was not actually malai. It was actually fondant, which you use for... Yeah.
Okay.
And so I animated fondant. But if you all see it, you think it's malai. So these are all fun things I got to learn and do. So that was cool. But other than that, I had sort of shown a small snippet of my animation of my film that I'm working on, which is my next personal short film. It's called Ali. So I'd shown a snippet at AGIF, but since then I've been reworking the puppet and things like that. So I decided not to show anything here because she will be looking a little different from everyone who last saw her. So that's what I'm working on. That's my main project now, my passion project. So yeah, and with that one, I'm looking to do, like, even my puppet is going to be much more sophisticated than anything I've done so far. So yeah, that's what I'm working on.
So,
Awesome.
really excited.
That is for all.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I think we have one more question by Neerav. Yeah, come forward.
Sure.
Sorry for popping in with the question so late. I just wanted to ask you if, being so passionate about specifically stop motion, have you ever felt the need to diversify to sort of pay the bills or something of that sort, right? Because India is not a very popular place for stop motion in general. So how is that worked out over the, how has your specialization sort of worked out, or has it been like most of the stop motion work counts to you practically, so you have sort of
Yeah.
I was just very curious as to how has this sustained in such a niche space, and it's very commendable that you've done that.
No, and this is a great question because, I mean, got to lay out the bare truth. It's not easy. It's not exactly sustainable right now in India for an independent stop motion animator to pursue this niche. Because, like I said earlier, a lot of the people who have the money don't know enough about stop motion animation. So part of my job is probably also to educate them, which is something I'm struggling with taking on that role, but I should. So no, it's not always been easy. I did at one point in between consider going back to sort of assistant directing and things like that because I used to do that. And but then I don't know, that just, it's like my soul said no to me because I have left that and I want to do this. So I've been over the last few years trying to put my work out there a little more and try my hand at networking, which I suck at, and things like that. But no, it's not easy, and I'm not always getting projects, and I'm not saying no to projects and things like that. Whatever I get, I take it, I do it. Because that's what will let me make my film. And so I do that. But no, I don't do anything other than stop motion animation, to answer that part of your question. And I will say this though, that in some part, I have the support of my parents, and that's a big one for me. So there have been times where I could lean on them when I'm not able to sustain with enough projects. So yeah, that is my truth as well. So yeah.
No worries. More power to you.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure, having
Thank you, guys. Thank you all. Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun, and I spoke too much, but thanks a lot.
Yeah, obviously. I was hoping it would be more of a conversation where everyone asked. Like, I'm actually glad Prashant jumped in. He's a regular here, and he's always got like very insightful questions always. So I think Ashish is the first time here.
Yeah, as well. And
No, I meant like in Toby here. I'm not sure.
I guess, yeah. It is my first.
And Sharanya, it's been a pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
It's always like I've always wanted to reach out to a stop motion artist because it's one field in India, like I mentioned earlier, that's not getting enough attention. But at the same time, it's stop motion. I believe was the first VFX, first way to do VFX. I believe. Like,
yeah, I mean the first stop motion or the early stop motion is like King Kong and all, where King Kong is climbing the Empire State Building. That's Star Wars entirely. All the miniatures.
I think it was basically one of the earliest form of animation, and it's one of the most powerful. So, and it's it's something that everybody wants to get in, but everybody's sort of lost. Like, we want to do it, but we don't know how to do it. We don't know how to approach it. So, like, it's been very insightful having you here, and
thank you.
Hopefully we can have more sessions like this on stop motion. Like, I would love to have you return another time to talk more about it, because we want to get more people involved in stop motion. Like, we want to build this industry a lot more. So,
man, more power to you guys for doing that for me. Actually, if anything, you're building it for me. So that's amazing. Yeah, I would love that.
Glad you liked it. So, so anyway, I think, like, since we're well past the hour mark, so just to give a round or like give a conclusion, like, we will be putting this recording on YouTube, probably at the earliest next week, at the latest next year, because I'll admit, like, all of us admins, including me, are very lazy. So it's not.
Oh, life happens. Yeah, it's okay.
Life happens. That is the biggest excuse that we have. So, and Amin has already started typing. Dude, it's way over 1 hour. So it's been a pleasure having everybody here. And so in case anyone knows, Amin Shahid is the co-founder, the silent person who's never comes on camera. It's up right now. So thank you very much for having us, joining us here, and thank you everybody else who's come forward and supporting this session. And I'll see you all for next month for the next toggle session, which will be on another Wednesday.